Hi, this is Robin from Crystal Dynamics.
Cool. So maybe we should start. So I'm Antoine. I'm the lead developer on Lara Croft Go here in Enix, Montreal. And I'm with two people.
Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm the art director of the studio.
And I'm Nick, community manager here at Enix Montreal.
Hi, y'all.
Hi. So I believe we got Sergio with us.
Hello. Yes.
From
I'm here.
Spain, right?
Yes, I'm from Spain.
Okay.
From craftgeneration.com.
Okay, cool. We got Brandon from Canada, is that correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, cool. We got Alex from Spain.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Cool. And Jackie from Bulgaria.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Awesome. Great. Cool. Okay. Well, I guess we can start then. So since Loïc isn't here, should we still ask you questions?
Probably not.
Probably not, right?
Less questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, so let's just skip his questions. Let's just start with your first question on the transcript, which was from Sergio, which is, it's obviously the research about the classic Tomb Raider games. Do you consider yourself Tomb Raider fan? I don't know who's going to answer this, Thierry or...
I don't know what you mean by fan. I'm not a fan. I like the series, especially at the beginning. Basically, when I started in video games was in '95, and that's just before Tomb Raider hit the shelves, and it was a very, very big game at the time. Like, I remember it clearly that it was the beginning of 3D consoles, and it was just amazing. Like the freedom. The gameplay was great, and I really liked the adventure. So it was amazing. And after that, there were so many games. I wasn't so much into Lara Croft Go, and I played the very, very recent ones. The Tomb Raiders one.
Oh, okay.
But I did miss a lot of Lara Croft games though.
In the middle.
Yeah.
So there was the beginning and the new one.
So
in the middle.
I'm not a real fan.
Well, I guess for me, Antoine, sorry, we should say our name first. Yeah, like Thierry, the first game was 19 years ago, and I think it was the first 3D game that I really played for more than 5 minutes. So in that way, it was very, iconic into my history with video games. And I feel I really like the sense of exploration. You really felt like you were somewhere remote, maybe like some kind of lost temple and all that stuff. So I really liked how even though it was basic 3D, you could really capture like an interesting environment. Let's move to the next question. Jackie, does the game aim to lay ground for more classic approach in future Lara Croft games? Lara Croft Go is very nostalgic as we see the classic block pushing sequences, the boulder and darts, the classic outfits, the general idea of having to collect a couple of puzzle pieces, for instance the keys, in order to open the main gate, etc. So Antoine, I will answer this question. I think I don't really know where it's going to go from there. I guess Lara Croft Go was meant as more like a standalone at first. At least, we have more like the series more around Go. So we did Hitman Go first, now Lara Croft Go. We never thought about what does it mean for the Lara Croft brand, I guess. I think we were very inspired by the nostalgia of the old Lara Croft. And I guess in a way, the Guardian of Light and Temple of Osiris games are a little bit like this. They're really trying to capture something more around the nostalgia. But I think we can't really say what does it mean for the franchise as a whole. Does that answer your question, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then Alex asks, for you, what is the most special thing or element or feature of the game? I don't know. Well, I guess I can give it a shot.
Yeah.
So Antoine again. For me, I think what I really like about this game is how we and that's what the Go series tries to do, is really boiling down something to its essence. Really trying to go for what is the minimum, not the minimum, but the leanest version we can do of a Lara Croft game, and that's very interesting. And also I like the nostalgia, even though the other Lara Croft game is doing this. I like how we tapped into trying to remember how we felt playing the old Tomb Raider and trying to capture that and translate it in a modern context, in a game that feels not dated, but that feels, like on par with what's being done today on mobile. So I think that was cool.
For my part, Thierry, I think nostalgia is definitely one of the biggest elements, but I would say the pace, because it's a puzzle game, and I think it's very interesting the way that because of the Go style, that it actually works. Because on paper, it seems like a very weird mix to have like a turn-based puzzle mixed with Lara Croft, and it actually works. So I think we're very proud of that.
Did it answer your question, Alex?
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.
Let us know, by the way, everyone, if you have
more info.
Yeah, if you didn't understand something or you need clarification.
Then Sergio asked how many people developed the game. Very easy question. So not a lot. We're a studio with 40 people, so we're like a small studio within a big company. There is probably, the game started maybe a little more than 5 people, and at the very end we were like up to 15 people, but that's on average 10 people is the average over the course of a year, so it's a 1-year production. Then Brendan asked, Lara Croft Go is an undeniably beautiful game, well thank you Brendan, with an incredibly moody atmosphere, with every scene brought to life by constant movement and small details in the environment, such as plants and animal life, and it's enhanced by effects such as serene shafts of light and gorgeous water. What were your inspirations for the 2D animated style of Lara Croft Go?
Right. I'd say because I jumped on a project about midway into production, so a lot of things have been done when I arrived. And I was working on another game, which I would say like low polygon style, just before coming here. So I think I brought kind of some experience from that project at the time. So it was about trying to make this HD version of low polygon. We didn't want to have just low polygon like you see today in a lot of images on the net, but something a bit more made in purpose, like something which is low polygon with not the purpose of looking just too blocky, but just looking beautiful with the composition and I don't know. I think I just wanted to add more depth and texture to just low polygon, and in the end we just made a mix of all these ideas. But there's no I don't think there is one specific visual reference to this project. It's a lot of things and a lot of trial and errors to do that.
I guess I can say, Antoine, talking from the outside perspective of all this, because Thierry and Daniel Lutz, who is the game director, they both worked on the visual together. So sometimes it feels like the game is their lost child. So Daniel Lutz, who also worked on Hitman Go, he has his, I think something he really likes is very simple graphics. Minimalistic, exactly.
A graphic design influence.
Exactly. And he started the project before Thierry joined the company, and we had a very, very super minimalistic Lara Croft at first. And like Thierry said, we started on trying to do something that's not only low poly like it's trendy to do these days, but still having this sense of a high production value, sorry. And we started to have this very minimal Lara Croft game. And then when Thierry joined, I think from his background, he was able with concept art and stuff like this to give a bigger like a bigger depth, like more environments that felt bigger than the screen almost. So that's how I see their both contributions coming together into making something that feels intimate and minimalistic, but at the same time it's almost like looking through a keyhole and seeing more. There is more than just what you see. Next question is Brendan. Were there iterations in the development of Lara Croft Go's art style? Did it ever have a more realistic direction? Interesting question.
Interesting question. Basically, yes. There were endless iterations in the development of Lara Croft Go, like right up to the end. Basically, we just kept trying and adding different things. So, yeah, it was constantly evolving.
I think we really believe as a studio that if you want to reach for something, especially something if it's not necessarily been done before, it's not your classic photorealistic game, if you want to, own your own style, you're going to have to try a lot of things. So there were lots of debates on whether or not we should have shadows, whether or not we should have textures. In the end, there is no texture in the game, but like all these things, like the different lighting models and all these things, and only by trying stuff, like really trying, and everybody pushing for the opinions that they think is the right thing to do, only that way we can manage to get a product that's interesting, I think, in the end, you can't, we're not a studio that right from the beginning we're going to say this is going to be exactly the game, this is a concept art, you make the concept art happen, and that's the game, that's it. Instead, we try stuff, we iterate, we modify, we adjust, we find new ideas from the ideas that didn't necessarily work, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how it was born.
And I'll just add that you might see the evolution of that art style when the panel we did at PAX comes out, because we actually showed some of the early concept art there.
That's something we could maybe in the future to add in the blog as well.
Yeah, I do that as well. I guess it was really interesting because coming from Hitman Go to Lara Croft Go, and I guess right now we're focusing more on the arts, but there was really a process of at the beginning of Lara Croft Go, because we didn't want to just repaint Hitman Go with Lara Croft. We had a big process of throwing stuff out. And I think the art style especially, there was like this weird crossover period for a short time, but then we started to be like, okay, board game aesthetic, that doesn't really make sense for Lara Croft. She cannot be a plastic pawn. She has to move because she's athletic. So then the whole board game thing started to fall out, and then we're like, okay, if Lara Croft moves, then the environment, and it's not a board game, then the environment moves as well, et cetera, et cetera. So it was really a process of deconstructing Hitman Go and then rebuilding things so that it really feels Lara Croft. Does that answer your question, Brandon?
Yeah, that's really awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
I think Loic joined as well, just making sure.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
great.
Cool. All right, we won't keep your questions anymore then if you're here.
Okay, thank you.
Then, next question, Brandon again. With its 2D animated style, Lara Croft Go could have been created in 2D but was built in Unity, a 3D engine. What were the advantages and challenges of that method? Were you ever tempted to break from the 2D isometric style? For example, the camera could have rotated around Lara and the environment in 90-degree movements to follow her as she went around the side of a cliff, for example. So I guess I'll answer this question. So, I mean, I know it feels 2D because the camera is only moving like on a plan, but everything is 3D. It's not really isometric because there is actually perspective as you move. And so that's why we use Unity, because everything is 3D. Like she can move up and down and forward and left and right. She can move in all three directions. And Unity, we really like it because it's not only about 2D or 3D, but Unity as a whole tool chain that for us developer allows us to try a lot of different levels very easily. We almost play like with blocks, like Lego blocks, and we just move them super fast, press play, try the level, and then again and again. So that allows us to create a lot of levels, and that allows us to find good levels. And then the reason why the camera doesn't go around Lara is I think especially on mobile, you don't want to have crazy camera movements. It can get very nitty, you know, people like, they have a small screen and maybe they're in the bus or whatnot, so we didn't want to give like, you know, too much action there. And also, because exploration is a big part, if you got, let's say, freeform camera, then you can go look around, then it doesn't feel like Lara is exploring as much. So that's why we got this big silhouette, the black stuff that comes in the front of the camera, sometimes like trees or rocks or whatnot, and they hide part of it, and it really feels like you're observing through the bushes what Lara's doing. So it gives a very intimate feeling and also very, exploratory. You know, it's very like, oh, what is over there? What's hidden over there? You know. So all these reasons is why we decided to have the camera movement like this. And then Jackie asks, what is the process of laying out the maps, as in synchronize the movements of the enemy to Lara, put a certain amount of tiles to move through, even make your room for a different approach to solving some of the maps. And I'm also left with the impression on some of the maps there are different ways to how you can, for example, kill the snakes and pass through. So, like I started to answer at the beginning, as I started to say in the previous question, we go through a lot of different levels. We got 2 designers that they were already part of the team on Hitman Go, and they made a lot of levels. And basically, they do something. We have this tool so we can super easily play like with Lego, build a level, and then they make each other try. And then they make us try, and at the beginning, because they're so good at it, the puzzles are insanely challenging, super hard. But so then we like, oh, okay, that part I really like, but this maybe that's a little too hard. And then they adjust, and then we get people coming in the office to do playtests, and then we see how they play it. And, you know, and it's just like trying and refining. And every now and then we throw a level that's more about story, maybe. You know, this, I don't know, like the hub with the giant door. Well, this is not really a puzzle, but it's important for our story. So we're telling our story through our puzzle framework, you know. So that's how we slowly, you know, build that game. And on the fact that there might be more than one solution, I think we're trying to have kind of one solution, but sometimes it's not a hard constraint.
It's not constant. It's not consistent, but it happens. Like there's a very, very few examples where you can actually have like 1 or 2 different passages, but it's definitely not part of the gameplay.
Because the thing that was important for us compared to Hitman Go is that smaller levels. Like we still wanted the sense of the challenge is increasing with every level, but we didn't want the complexity, just the clutter to increase with every level. So we always try to have a few amount of mechanics. We always try to have the level that fits in the screen. So, you know, usually we try to have things elegant that way. Then Louis asks, real puzzle and booby traps are back. How did you manage the level of difficulty? Who was your target for this game? Okay, so I guess we kind of started to answer that a little bit. Level of difficulty and the curve is trying 1,000,000 times.
It always remains too difficult, even for us. The designer came up with like some very, very difficult levels. We try them first, and then we break them down, like what we like, what we don't like, depending on what the story, the flow, etc. Where you are also in the story, if it's at the beginning, at the middle, or the end. So it was just like making different levels, try them, and feel it. And after that, we had a few playtests as well that redefined what we had in mind, because we realized that it was even too difficult sometimes. So yeah, we just tried and
I guess we do have like a loose rule of like every 3 levels, we introduce 3-4 levels, we introduce a new mechanic, and we always try to do it. I think it was introduced by Nintendo. Is basically first you introduce the mechanic in a very simple context, and then you have to learn it by yourself, right? There is no tutorial, no hand holding, so basically you have to figure it out, which is part of the game. Then when you understand the rule for the mechanic, we make it a little more complex, either by mixing it with other mechanics or having more of the same mechanic within one puzzle, and then we make it more challenging, and then new mechanics, etc., etc. So that's our curve. That's how we make sure that it never gets overly complicated. It's spacing out new mechanics.
It's very close. Like, I mean, the next question is by my count, Lara Croft Go has 77 puzzles spread through 41 levels. The puzzles in the game perfectly ramp up the difficulty, and each one feels carefully crafted. Did the puzzles go through a lot of iterations? Were there puzzles that didn't make the final game? Yes, in fact, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there are more puzzles that didn't make it in the game than puzzles in the game, for sure.
Yeah, and but it's not also like they were not final puzzles. It's not like we can take all these puzzles and make something else with it. It's just that most of the puzzles you have in the game right now are just like the best ones, the most refined ones.
And it's important to understand that when we do the gameplay of the puzzle, it's not dressed up. There's very super artistic visuals, no art. It's just cubes and the enemies, and that's it. So that allows us to own in on the gameplay, and then we dress it up. So that way we can save time. Next question by Brendan. By the end of the game, you have over a dozen different gameplay mechanics combined. During development, did you ever run into unexpected results when combining mechanics that you hadn't anticipated while designing and testing the levels? This is a very interesting question. So the way it worked on Hitman Go and Lara Croft Go is we wanted the game to be as systemic as possible. And by systemic, I mean every gameplay mechanic should work with any gameplay mechanic, and it's just, super fine and cool. The problem is, with Hitman, it was all pawns, so there was not like a lot of animation, and it was pretty easy to make everything work together at the beginning. But the more mechanics you throw, the more you will run into weird situations that the rule makes sense, but from the outside, especially if you're not familiar with like all the rules that are actually happen behind the scene, it feels kind of weird. Like you're like, oh, why did I die there? I'm not sure. And it makes sense from the rule point of view, but it's kind of weird in terms of user experience. So we started to not have, to exclude some situation, make sure some situations didn't happen. And then when we move on Lara Croft Go, not that we were adding animations, there was all these animations that we had to do, like Lara being on top of a boulder, a pillar, or things being crushed, etc., etc. And if we would have had to fill up the whole matrix of all the possible combinations and do animation for each and every one of them, that would have been too much. So we decided pretty soon that we would do only the animations for combinations that actually happen in the game. So there is a lot of situations that, we had like unspoken rules of how to build levels and what to combine and what not to. And then our QA here, they really help us see if any of those forbidden situations were happening. Does that answer your question, Brendan?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Cool, no problem. Then Brendan again asked, Lara Croft Go has a jungle setting but takes the player through a fantastic variety of environments that feel very different from each other, making the levels a diverse experience, which I feel is always a huge plus for any game. Were there ideas for other environments? I would have loved a snowy environment or a volcanic environment.
All right. First, I can't answer for what happened before I came on board, but...
Do you want me to answer what happened before, and then you take over for once you arrive?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So I'm talking, I was there at the beginning. At the beginning, the idea was, like Hitman Go, which is each box of level in Hitman Go, each notebook, if you will, is in a different location, actually. So we had like Peru, South America, Tibet, Egypt, I think that's what it was. And then pretty fast we thought, okay, the way levels are structured in Hitman Go, which is different location, one after the other, it fits with Agent 47 being like a killing machine. Just like one contract after another in different locations around the world. So we thought, that's not what Lara Croft is about. Lara Croft, that's not how we want to lay it. We want to lay it as a story, a beginning, a middle, and then she needs to find an artifact. That's what Lara Croft is about. She's not like just like raiding tombs one after another. So we decided to just get one location so we could build a story that would make sense. And then Thierry jumped on board.
Yeah, and then not the only one. There's also a scriptwriter that just came on board and just wrote a very, very complex story, which is a first for a Go game. And we've tried to apply the elements of this story in a game, but it was just too difficult to tell a story with the elements we had, which means like no dialogues, no voiceover, and no text. But we tried to like reduce to the minimum like the story, which was basically around this like giant snakes called the Queen of Venom. But we simplified it to an extent and in which it works for the game. And basically what we've done is just focus on one environment, which is kind of like a jungle, South American area. But we just wanted to have like different backgrounds. So it starts outside and gets inside a cave. When she almost dies, she goes into this kind of like more fantasy environment, which you don't really know what it is, which was a little bit inspired by like the you call them the golden cities, like
America.
Like the very traditional way of we see the golden city, so that's why it's all like golden and like much more warmer than the other environments. And then she comes back to the beginning. So it was a way to like give more with what we had, but it's still very. I mean, we tried to make you travel a little bit inside the same story, basically.
And I guess you can see in the choice of color as well. It starts like green, which works well with like nature, like lush vegetation, stuff like this. And then you go blue, you're getting deeper. So there, like where you are fits kind of like the narrative curve, like where you are emotionally in the story. At first you're like in this like welcoming environment of nature. Then the cave,
Lara Croft.
Yeah. And then the cave is getting deeper. You know, things are getting a little tense. And then you call out, like you think you're almost there, you're going to get an artifact, you're crossing that bridge, the snake, like the Queen of Venom kicks you down, and then it's all black, because it's the lowest point of the story. You thought you were there, but then, bang, you're crushed and you're all the way down. So that's why the level is called the lowest point. That's where everything is black. And then slowly, there's like bits of red coming in, and then you arrive in this mystical place, which is almost like center of the earth / golden city, like Jay was saying. And this is where Lara is coming back, like taking the advantage again, like coming back, and then there's this fight. You're really in the den of this mystical creature, so that's why the environment is mystical as well. And then there's this moment you climb all the way back up, and you cross all, like you see a bit of every area of the game you've been through, and finally you get the artifact, and you're gonna have to escape, and you're going through kind of the same area you started the game.
Spoiler for those who haven't finished the game.
Yeah, I hope you guys all finish the game, because I just said everything that's happening in the game. And then Jackie said, what inspired the collectible system instead of, for example, adding more relics or making the pieces of a relic more? You added gems for us to collect. Okay, I guess I can answer this question. So at first we had empty vases and vases with gems. It was relics. And we thought, okay, that's pretty disappointing when you break a vase and there is nothing inside. That kind of sucks. So we were inspired by, I think a talk on Blizzard maybe, where basically what they do is instead of like either giving you or not giving you a reward, they give you a small reward or a big reward. So that's how we saw it. The gems is like a big reward because you really need to collect all of them to get the special outfit. And the artifact is more immediate. That if you collect one artifact or one relic, then you're gonna have the costume. So that's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it was kind of unexpected as well, because I think it was there at the beginning, like the idea of collecting something, but until very late in the game, we didn't have time to focus on that.
Yeah.
And then we integrated the system and suddenly everybody was just like hooked on this. So that's when we really had to think about what it looks like, what we do about it. But it was actually interesting the way it happened. So we didn't really know if it would be working that well.
I guess it's one of those ideas that you have in the back of your mind. Like from the beginning, we said, "Oh, that'd be cool to do it," but there were other ideas like this that we say would be cool to do it, and we didn't do it. But I guess that one. But first of all, there's the secret, and there's that sound from 2901 when you find something, and it's like, and it's such a classic sound, you know. And the secret is such a classic mechanics that we always wanted it. And also, it wasn't, I guess, that much work to do it.
Yeah.
And also, we spend so much time in the environment, and sometimes people get very focused in solving puzzles. So I think these things hidden in the environment, for us, it was a way to say, hey, look around.
Slow down. We've done a lot of work, so take your time.
Exactly. So it was a way for us to showcase our hard work, I'd say. Alex, what can you say about the plot of Lara Croft Go with the Queen of Venom? So I can quickly answer that, and I guess you started to touch on it. We had a narrative writer who came on board and started to write this complexness of the Queen of Venom and being very precise about the location and the tribe, the actual tribe that exists and why we were inspired by them. But pretty fast, we decided that we didn't want to be that explicit about the myth. Like, rather than being like a specific tomb or a specific culture, a specific civilization, we wanted it to be more like a symbol. You know, it's symbolically all adventures Lara Croft does ever. It's like symbolically that's another. Nicolas here, I saw an interview the other day. He said it's just another day on the job, and I think it's exactly that. It's your average Lara Croft day. That's what she does, you know. And for us, it was great because it was liberating. We didn't have to be explicit about the culture. We didn't have to be explicit about truthful to that culture. Then we could take more freedom and find inspiration, you know, even if it's not necessarily true. And I guess in that way, the Queen of Venom is kind of the same. Thierry came up with, Thierry, or maybe the narrative designer came up with the idea of a giant snake. Very classic mythical animal, fit well with this kind of South American vibe, more like Aztec kind of thing.
Yeah, we used the myth of the snake, the fly. We started with the classic flying serpent, but actually just tone it down to basically being like a super giant snake with no really personality, in the sense that she's just a snake chasing you or protecting the tomb. But at the beginning, she was supposed to be a real queen of a real kingdom, and it was very complex. It was coming from Greece, ancient Greece, to this Marajoara in northern Brazil, which is like a tribe that exists in a small island. But then we thought it was just too much and too specific. And I think it works better than this. It's just a giant monster, and it works well with the puzzle.
And I guess it's the giantness. I think the thing that's cool is there's this thing in the first Tomb Raider where there's this giant T-Rex, and Lara is so small, and there's this giant T-Rex coming out of the cave, and this David versus Goliath moments, like Lara against a hostile environment with mythical creatures, that was very inspiring for us. So that's why this giant snake. And also, I like how we got rid of all the details, all the specifics of the story, and then we say Queen of Venom, but it's just a giant red snake. But we call her Queen of Venom, and then your mind is going, you know, what is the Queen of Venom? And then you can build those theories in your mind, which I think is even more interesting than probably anything we could have come up with.
That's definitely the subject of the next question.
Okay, let's read the next question then. I love Human Go, but what elevated Lara Croft Go for me was that it told a story, and that the progression of the story throughout Lara's journey in the game was as important and integral to the game as the puzzles were. Just one example was the boss's appearance multiple times throughout every set of levels. Another example is that Lara Croft Go has a traditional 5-act structure, including a danger-filled denouement, even after Lara acquires her goal and defeats the game's boss. What are the challenges in finding the way to tell and structure that Tomb Raider adventure story within a framework of a puzzle game, or was it an easy and natural process? Well, like we said before,
we answered that, I guess.
Yeah, coming from Hitman Go, sequence of level, we needed a story because that's what Lara Croft is about. We have a friend who's a narrative designer, jumped on board. The things that was a little more, like way more complicated at first, but really at the same time was pivotal for us to see how we were gonna structure the whole thing, and then we boiled it down until it was like this very lean skeleton on which to build the game. That's how it was.
So it wasn't easy, and it wasn't natural.
Yeah, it was step by step, but yeah. What is the Atlas of Beyond? Why Lara is looking for the artifact? I guess your answer is as good as mine, or as ours, like imagination. Like the answer is on your end. We put the answer on your end.
We just wanted to have an artifact that looks like it's something very important.
Yeah.
So it's yours to imagine.
Yeah. So that way the game is as good as your imagination is. So if it sucks, it's not our fault. Then Jackie said, why didn't the grapple make it to the final version of the game? In the making of Lara Croft Go video, an animation of Lara using the grapple can be seen. Ooh, someone's been very observant. Well, that's part of trying stuff, I guess. Some stuff sticks, some stuff doesn't. We had this, and then we had other mechanics that we thought were more inspiring and were better combination together, I think. Brendan asked, we saw a glimpse of some mechanics that didn't end up in the Lara Croft Go in the making of video. Okay, that's kind of the same question. Can you tell us about any of those? Did you come up to a final set of mechanics early in the development process, or did any stick around throughout development? So, yeah, it's really a process of you got a bunch of ideas, you have this brainstorming, very divergent, we write a million post-its, and then you converge, you shrink, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and this is through that iteration that we found this final, but I'm sure if we had to do let's say, another bunch of levels, there's lots of ideas in the back of our mind that we could still experiment with.
It's also because it's very systemic, so some appear to be very good idea, but maybe it doesn't mix well with other mechanics, so we had to make some choice.
All right. Brendan said, Go's animal adversaries like snakes, salamanders, and spiders are so fantastic because they're all puzzle mechanics that are part of the game's turn-based ecosystem, and they each have unique behavior. Did you have ideas for other animals during development? So I guess it's kind of the same question as before. Interestingly enough, as far as I know, these three adversaries are the only mechanics that we kept from Hitman Go. And we dressed them as Lara Croft.
Yeah, this is basically the same mechanics, the same characters as Hitman Go, they just have a different look. Yeah. And that in itself is just enough. But we also have to say that there's the verticality factor.
Yeah, that changes.
Just adding them on walls make them so much different from Hitman Go.
Yeah, true. And it's funny how in Hitman Go we had the first guy is like a snake. There was a blue guy that doesn't move. And then the second person you encounter is the one that goes in a straight line, like the spider. And then much further, and then you get a guy turning and a bunch of other guys, and then there is this guy with a dog that's following you, like the salamander. So you can see how in Lara Croft Go, it's not introduced in the same order. I think it's still the first, but the salamander comes much earlier because we thought there were more interesting combinations with the mechanics, and the spiders come later. Even though they're simpler, they work well with the pressure plates because they're like time triggers kind of thing. So that's why they come later. But yeah, it's the only mechanics from Hitman Go.
But when it comes to other animals, yes, we thought about different animals. Actually, just to dress up these characters from Hitman Go, we went through like different iterations and ideas. Like we wanted monkeys, whatever, different things. We also thought about like when you go into this like mystical world, maybe having like more mystical creatures, or an evolution of like the same ones, like the snake, salamander, and spider, but like with a different look because they were in a more fantasy universe. But in the end, like we just as always, we just like kept what was working.
Yeah, and basically we try to keep what's working and making it real nice. Because when you choose an animal, for instance, things that one might not think about is, because the camera is kind of far away, you want it to be super readable, like there is no mistake in which direction they're pointing their face, for instance. And so all these things, and how much work is going to be on the animation, like if some things are harder to animate than other, and all these constraints, because we're a small team and a small production, we have to take into constraints as well. So the decision is informed by all these factors. The music is incredible. Can you reveal who is the composer? The composer is a mix of people. The main composer is Pixel Audio, which is a small studio here in Montreal. And we got two people here, Dan Notes, the game director, and James Waring, the audio director, that gave kind of a direction, a general direction for what they were going for. Jackie, what inspired the game's music? As we progress through the game, we hear various pieces that fit the mood from their respective map, and they are really beautiful. Also, will they be up for download maybe? So inspiration was, I guess, the main thing was not to do your classical jungle beats or like not anything expected, but try to create an interesting contrast. As per specific references, I don't really know. I guess, I don't know, we could ask the guys. And whether or not they'd be available for download, that's something we're looking at, but a lot of people seem to like them. Maybe.
It's possible.
It's a possibility. Alex, how did it come to be that the sound effects of Tomb Raider from 1996 were put into the game? Well, because that was our main source of inspiration.
It's always about this like nostalgia factor as well. We really wanted to give like this feeling of playing the old Tomb Raider in this new form. And I think like getting some of the classic sound was just like normal. It was just expected.
I guess it's an interest, something we discussed before. Is like our idea was not to make Tomb Raider from 1996 because it doesn't work these days. Like, it's aged for sure. It's been done 19 years ago, so things have evolved, and a lot of stuff has been invented since then. But we wanted to capture more like how we felt as kids. So some sounds, they're so iconic, they're so part of our memory of when we were kids playing it. And of course, we didn't want to have the whole soundtrack or every single SFX to be from the first Tomb Raider, but those that are really iconic, that are really going to trigger something in people's minds, we had to go with those. Then Brendan says, I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that Ghost Climatic boss fight is surprisingly substantial and exhilarating. Not at all what you'd expect in a turn-based puzzle game. Well, thank you again. And just really, really cool conceptually. Although I have to say, for me personally, the segment with the pillar was a bit of a disappointment compared to the rest of it. I think you really found the right balance between the more structured design that was necessary and the player's freedom of puzzle solving. Was the boss fight more of a challenge to get right than the other puzzles in the game? It was an ambitious idea. Do you feel that you accomplished what you hoped to accomplish?
Just to jump in really quick, to the fan sites, I just sent out a document with all the questions if you want to follow it. We're on the last page if you're looking around and wanted to see what the questions are. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much.
So I'm not sure I got that actually. What? It's all good? Sorry,
it's just for the fan sites because they're going to transcribe this. I just wanted them to know that they have all the questions to follow along because they're going through quite a bit and they don't have all the questions to look at.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but go ahead. Thanks, guys.
So for the boss, actually, it wasn't that hard. We knew we wanted it to be part of the game. We thought it was really cool to have a boss fight in a puzzle form, in turn-based puzzle form. The only thing, of course, with the boss fight, and that's why we kept it a little like for the end, is we knew this would only be used in the game, in the boss level. So instead of being super systemic like the rest of the mechanics, it's only going to be like in 2 levels, and that's it. So it's not harder. You just know you're just working for 2 levels instead of working for many levels. But that's all. And I guess, that's always something that excited us, the turn-based puzzle boss fight.
I was very curious to see how it would be working because in my mind it was like kind of weird to have like a boss fight as turn-based, but it actually worked and it was very interesting. So
the designers did a good job.
Yeah, congrats to the designer because it wasn't that easy to pull out.
Lois, what was your bigger challenge here? Which franchise was harder to adapt, Tomb Raider or Hitman? They both have their specificities. With Hitman, we had to come up with the whole Go concept at the same time. But on the other end, we saved ourselves some time because we didn't have animation, because that worked well with the board game aesthetic that fits the Hitman universe. Tomb Raider, there was the difficulty of trying to reinvent yourself, but keeping what works. But you're 1 year older, so wiser. You got 1 year of experience, one game under your belt. So, they're both different in different ways, I'd say. That's pretty much it.
They're actually very difficult games to make.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a general fact, it's a puzzle game. We try to be as minimal as possible in terms of telling you a story or telling you what to do. And as anything in design, when it looks simple, it's actually very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, making something simple is hard to do because it's always easy to add stuff that someone said it's perfect when there is nothing you can remove. And I guess that's what we're trying to, that's how we try to work, but that's really, really, really hard because complexity just, that just arrives. Whereas simplicity, you need to work super hard.
You always want to add more. It's very difficult to actually do the contrary.
Then Sergio said, I heard a lot of comments from other fans, and they all love this game thanks to the complex puzzles. Any plans for sequels? Could the game be updated in future with more achievements and free outfits? Well, if people like it, and, we feel like people want more, well, I don't know. Maybe, probably, I don't know. I can't really say at this point. There is no confirmed plan for that, but, we'll see.
Everything is possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
What I usually answer to this is look at our track record as a studio and what we've done for other games, and yes.
But I guess there is one thing though. If we do something, we will do it well. We definitely don't want to do a half-assed, second product. The mandate of the studio is to do excellent game on mobile. So we will only bring it if we feel like we got a compelling proposition of stuff that doesn't feel like exactly the same. We need to have something that we feel is going to be whoa. So, and then what about some goodies like original soundtrack, artwork, a sketchbook replica? We would love to see some artwork. Well, but interestingly enough, both Go games are not games that have a lot of artwork. It was more iteration of levels were existing, and then Thierry was doing concept on top of it, suggesting stuff, and then they were somewhere implemented in the game. Some didn't make sense, some one from the game, and then again and again and again. So it's more refinement at the existing level rather than pieces of concept. But we got a few concept art.
We do have a few things, but they're just more paint over instead of full-blown illustration I used to do in some AAA games, for example. But on this game, I was the art director and the concept artist, so I really didn't have time to do any beautiful illustrations, frankly. It's mainly paint overs or speed paintings, something very fast, very iterative process.
I guess we spend more time trying to unearth what the art direction is going to be. We try something, it works. We spend more time making the game and trying things in the game than doing a concept art or a pitch or PowerPoint that's explaining what the game should be. We really believe in the game is going to reveal to yourself as you try stuff and you see what sticks and what doesn't. So it's kind of different than a lot of production I've been in.
But there's a few things, so maybe they'll be online soon.
By the way, good idea to bring classic outfits. How did you choose which one to use? Actually, Crystal Dynamics helped us a lot on that one, especially Megan, the community manager. She helped us find which costumes are, the one that people really like, and There were a few that we liked, and we're like, oh no, this one was so cool. I remember it as a kid. I just loved it. And the rest, she really helped us with it. She really pushed for the what they call the scuba diving, the solar.
Yeah. To add to that from Crystal's side, this is Robin. Like Megan and I, we both looked at it. Megan did a big part in just going back and figuring out what were like the most nostalgic and which ones really resonated well with the community. And then Square Enix Montreal was like really great at taking in that feedback and figuring out which one would look really great in the game as well. So it was a really nice balance that we got to work together with.
Yeah, good job, That's all. You guys
it was great teamwork, though. It was a lot of fun reviewing. You guys had some great stuff.
Teamwork, yeah.
It's actually cool to see her like changing outfits in a different environment, especially like the Arctic like doesn't fit at all in the environment, which is cool. It's fun.
Well, it makes the whole like, especially in the cave area, when she's wearing the Arctic, it feels like everything got colder all of a sudden.
Yeah. Also, I remember we were looking to figure out like which outfits would really pop in the background as we looked through different concepts. So that was another factor that we considered as well.
Yeah, readability is like, it's like when we did the monsters and choose which animal to put. We wanted something with not a lot of noise because Lara is so tiny in this game, and just like something that reads super well, like you just said, and that was an important factor for us as well. Lara Croft Go is officially a success. Will there be expansions with new tomb challenges or levels of the classic games? So I guess we kind of answered that. Do you think you can create Lara Croft level editor just as the first games? Well, I don't know. That's the thing with level editors is because, like I said before, we got all these unspoken rules and all these things that this situation we know don't work. If we were to release a level editor, then we need to make sure all these things work. And I'm pretty sure something just can't. Like, they would be so hard to comprehend for someone who hasn't spent 1 year or 2 years making Go games, you know? So I don't know. As much as I would like other people to create levels, I don't know if it would make sense. And then I also think a lot of the appeal of the levels is the way you dress them up. And that's like a very, very time-consuming process. So I don't know if, I love level editors, but I don't know if it's the best game for it.
Definitely not, I think.
The Go gameplay concept of creating turn-based puzzle games from AAA franchises is genius, and the execution of the concept in both Go and Lara Croft Go is absolutely brilliant. It's really weird, by the way, for me to be reading this. I feel like I'm like, doing my own horn or something. Do you have your eye on any other franchise for the Go series, and is there any possibilities of a Lara Croft Go 2? I'm sure many fans feel, as I do, that there is a lot of potential in more Go-style Tomb Raider. Well, like I say, if we feel like we got a compelling proposition and something that will really blow people's minds, then maybe, but at this point there is nothing really confirmed. Look, do you have any fun stories regarding the game? Any Easter eggs? We might have recognized the Square Enix Montreal logo on some of the gates. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. That's funny. That wasn't intended, actually. Fun stories. Well, we didn't really hide anything.
I think we intended to do it, but like for most things, just take time. Good ideas. We had many thousands of good ideas, I think, and just like you have to go. There's a schedule. You have so many things to try and polish that I don't know if we have time to do some Easter eggs. We definitely wanted to. For example, for the relics,
that was
like the Hitman Go statue, like golden statue, but it's not there, right?
No, it's not there.
There were some ideas, but it's just that we didn't have time to implement all of them.
Because like usually Easter eggs, they're like fun and stuff that you do on the side, and we wanted to polish the main experience so much that didn't leave a lot of time for those fun little things that overall they don't add that much, especially when we already had the phases system, which is kind of like finding stuff in the environment, which is kind of like not an Easter egg, but it's kind of the same thing, mechanic. So in the end, we didn't have time for so much of that. At one point, I remember also we had this secret area that we thought maybe would be cool, but then again, we wanted to do it. If we wanted to do it, we would have liked to do it really well, and we didn't have time for it. And I guess this is kind of the last question is, 20 years after her first appearance, Lara Croft still finds new adventure. Do you think she's really an inexhaustible source? Does it still have room to create new experiences for the player without being repetitive? Well, I hope that's at least that's what we try to prove, right? That a platform that's so different from PC or console where she was born, and we can, Lara Croft can be reinvented to fit this media, and be a compelling experience. And it's a character. There is 20 years of games behind, and it's such a rich universe. There's so much references. Like, we took the first game as a reference, but other people may be inspired by other Lara Croft eras. And the more you create, then I hope that it's going to be the more you create, the more you can inspire other people, other teams working, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's really nice. And even today we got the Tomb Raider brand and the Lara Croft brand, and even within the Lara Croft brand, you got the Go games and Guardian of Light and Temple of Osiris. So you can see how all this stake. It's for me, that's how it's so iconic that we can start to make different variations around it, and that's very interesting to see how that's gonna go in the future.
And the adventure theme by itself is just so wide that I don't think there's any end to it, and you can see it in other type of games, right? Or movies or entertainment franchises. There's always place for new adventure characters and stories. So I think it would be very easy to find.
Yeah, and I guess Lara Croft. If you think video game characters, she's probably top 3 of the most iconic video game characters ever. So that everybody, and that's I guess how we started the project, is everybody wants to make a Lara Croft game. We made a Lara Croft game. This is still kind of crazy to me that someone would have told me 20 years ago, you're going to make a Lara Croft game one day, and people would say, that's actually a pretty good game. I would have been no, that's not possible. I don't believe it.
Yeah. When I started, it was actually the competitor, and we're we need to beat Lara Croft because it's
20 years ago.
Yeah, it was wow, it's such a great game. This is the worst competitor for us, and now we actually did it. So it's pretty cool.
We made a Lara Croft game. That's crazy. It's kind of humbling. Anyway, that's it. I don't know if you guys have more questions or if I answered most of it.
Actually, I will have to go. I'm sorry, I have to take a plane right now.
Oh, so busy.
No, not right now, but I have a lot of things to do. So I'll have to leave you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So Jay's gone, but I got 5 minutes if you guys have 1 or 2 extra questions that you want to answer.
I'm not sure if you already said, but about the soundtrack, do you plan to upload to some websites like SoundCloud, Vision Grace before Tomb Raider the reboot? Or
yeah, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I know a lot of people ask for this, so we'll look into this. I can't really confirm 100%, but all I can say is a lot of people is asking for that, so we're going to look at it.
Okay, because it's amazing.
Well, I'll let the audio guys know about that. Thank you for it.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Yeah?
I'll put in a quick closing comment, and it's just that I think both a lot of reviewers and fans are saying that the game is short and that the puzzles could be harder. And I don't take that as a negative. I take that as a positive. I think that's really good news because that means that people like it and they want more of it.
Yeah, I tend to agree, If they're no, that's enough. No, I had enough. That would be such a good sign, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm just going to add something about difficulty because I love how difficulty is something very different for everyone. For sure, we read the IGN review, for example, saying, again, the game is too easy. But then you look at how broad our public is and who's playing the game actually, and you feel I don't know, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
And if people want more, I feel that's a compliment again, so yeah.
And for us, because it's a story compared to Hitman Go, which is an endless succession of levels, we really wanted the game to be finishable. Like we always thought like the completion rate should be high. And if the completion rate is high, then that means a lot of people are going to finish the game. And if they like it, then they will want more. But that was kind of like expected. Like we want people to finish the game and be like, yeah, I finished it. I escaped that temple.
Yeah, and I think people might find it easier because they maybe have played Hitman Go before, so they're kind of used to the concept of the turn-based gameplay, which you could not have been before that. So yeah.
But I guess there are more people that say short rather than people saying it's easy.
Yeah.
Which is different, right? Like you can, and short, I take it as a compliment. Easy, that's really a matter of some people that just like they see through the matrix, and some people, and I guess most people, from what we saw from the feedback, they find it's like the right amount of difficulty. So yeah. Anyway, I tend to agree with what you're saying. Anyway. Any other question? Maybe one more question?
I haven't got more questions, but I have to say congratulations for this amazing game. I love Lara Croft Go, and I think we Lara Croft Go. It's a fantastic game into the Lara Croft universe. The tombs, the plot, all is amazing. So thank you so much for this amazing different type of game, and no more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually,
Thank you.
I got a chance to finish it like 3 times, and I really hope you get a chance to do a second game because I really love such turn-based games, and I really enjoyed Lara Croft Go.
Okay, well that's very nice. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Well, if there's no more questions, I guess that's it for today then.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Enjoy.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye. Goodbye.